we're still a long ways off.
Not if we take the shortcut through Diablo Pass.
Diablo Pass, that's Sioux territory, Jesse. We go up through there, we're not gonna have no help from no soldiers if we get into trouble.
The red man ain't got no problem with the black man, huh? As for you, white boy, that's a whole different story. I mean, first you enslave the black man, exploit the yellow man, and then you kill off the red man so you can snatch his land for railroads and such. Can I get a witness? Amen.
Well, if I may approach the bench, Your Honor, first of all, I ain't never personally enslaved nobody. So, Ty, you can kiss my white ass. Second of all, if there was a train coming through here on these tracks right now, I'd be on it and you'd be on it. Except the only difference would be I'd be gambling on it and you'd be fetching my chips like a little houseboy. Because you can't even cheat right. Now, can I get a witness? Thank you.
Amen. Jessica, can I kill the cracker now?
Why don't you let the Indians get him? Let's move out.
A modern day remake of Matthew Vaughn's Lay a Kick, a Coen brothers stand up with Timothy Chalamet. A Citizen Kane prequel, a Midnight Cowboy sequel, Alvin and the Chipmunks deserve another squeak. There's so many new ways to revisit sideways, but a graphic novel is how we choose to update. But we still hold fast, you can't change the past on the Ruined Childhoods podcast.
On Ruined Childhoods episode 271, we covered the Brian De Palma musical thrillamedy Phantom of the Paradise, which may have the best tagline of all time, "He sold his soul for rock and roll." However, since there is no award for best tagline, we have to stick with the standard rundown of movie accolades. In fact, the only awards that Phantom of the Paradise was nominated for were the Academy Award and Golden Globe for Best Original Score. Since 1947, the Hollywood Foreign Press Association has distributed the Golden Globe for Best Original Score to the film world's most talented musical artists. Since he is a seasoned film composer, to learn that John Williams has the most Golden Globe noms at 24 should be no surprise, but there are a few popular recording artists that broke through and scored nominations and wins in this esteemed category. Burt Bacharach won in 1969 for Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. Neil Diamond won in 1973 for Jonathan Livingston Seagull. Even Dudley Moore was nominated in 1982 for 6 Weeks, though he lost to John Williams for E.T. But in 1971, popular recording artist Isaac Hayes broke through with his score for the 1971 Gordon Parks blaxploitation classic, Shaft. Born in Covington, Tennessee in 1942, Isaac Hayes' talents were recognized early, leading to a fruitful career as a songwriter, producer, and session musician for Stax Records. His first hit was Soul Man, written for recording artists Sam and Dave, and is credited as one of the most influential songs by the Grammy Hall of Fame. But between his early recording career and later in life turn as a Scientology nut, he caught the acting bug, appearing in films like Escape from New York, I'm Gonna Get You Sucka, Robin Hood Men in Tights, It Could Happen to You, Reindeer Games, South Park, and this week's film. Greetings, Starfighters, this is Ruined Childhoods. I'm John, and gabbing with me, as always, is my brother Dan. And for episode 292, we're talking about the 1993 Western classic Posse, whose tagline, The Untold Story of the Wild West, has a lot to be desired. Dan, let's get this out of the way. We grew up in the part of the world that might pronounce his name Mario Van Peebles, but he pronounces it Mario Van Peebles. Do we need to practice abandoning our instincts?
I apologize in advance if it happens. It happened as I was introducing the film and saying his name at the end of our last episode. I remember, and because I remember kind of like watching my foot go into the pile of crap there, and just like it's too late to withdraw it, but I could do a quick I'm not going to get ankle deep. So it was like a Mario Van Peebles.
Yeah, it's one of those things where it's like, okay, the way that we say the name is regionally specific, but in this case, it's like, okay, well, how does the person themselves say it? And I wanted to make sure to like go back into interviews just to verify.
Right.
And Mario Van Peebles is not from the East Coast of the United States. He was actually born in Mexico. But I'm sure he grew up in like LA.
Yeah. I mean, father, famous filmmaker Melvin Van Peebles. No question on how to pronounce that. But true. I do often feel like when I make the ma slip that I have to say like, no, we had I'm like, no, I grew up in suburban New Jersey and we had Italian American neighbors whose son pronounced his name. Unless they, at some point they just said, just go with it. But, Mario, that's
right.
How I remember hearing it.
Yeah. I feel like if there is a Mario situation out in the wild, I default to Mario,
right?
Just as a precaution, because the odds are it's a Mario.
I feel like I am less likely to be corrected. I feel like I'm on the safer side of things, and
Mario is the least, elegant way of saying it. So yeah.
Right. But, all due respect, I'm sure there are elegant Marios out there. So,
and you know what?
Hey, we see you.
Marios and Marios alike, if you are listening, please chime in. Let us know how you pronounce your name. Email us ruinchildhoodspot@gmail.com.
Wow, I wonder, could we, it would be great if we could put a poll out there and kind of see the percentages and see the vote.
When this episode comes out, we are doing that. We are going to create a clip that we put out with a poll. Mario with A's or Mario? Oh no, Mario with H's. Mario with A's.
We'll get some help on the phonetics there, absolutely, and make sure that's straight up. But I mean, and how many people do you think have mispronounced his last name and called him like Van Peebles?
Or I suppose Mario Van Peebles.
Peebles? I don't know that you'd. I think the S would be silent if you're going all that way to the Peebles. It would be Peebles.
I mean, Van Peebles is such a distinct name.
Yes.
It's like, you don't forget a Van Peebles.
No.
I
mean, most likely
I'm wondering,
because I've never encountered any others. I've never actually encountered Melvin or Mario, but, through film, I have Mario, who actually played him in the docudrama about the making of Sweetback's Badass Song. So Mario Van Peebles made the film Badass about that, and he plays his father in it, and it's a really strong resemblance.
The two of them, and I haven't done much research, but they must have had a very unique relationship, because I believe that Mario Van Peebles' first on-screen performance was in a film directed by his dad, and I think that there was a full-on sex scene that he was in.
It was Sweetback's Badass Song.
Right.
Yeah, he plays I think he plays a young version of his father.
So wait, in the movie where he's playing his dad about the making of this, who plays Mario Van Peebles? I know he has kids who, I know that at least one of his sons is an actor. Mandela Van Peebles.
Yeah. And
he was in Badass. Let me. Okay. Well,
please
I'm just
tell me
looking
he
at
was
this
playing
right
a
now,
young.
And Mandela Van Peebles plays Angel Muse in Badass. So I don't know.
Okay. So perhaps not.
Well, no matter what, the Van Peebles family dynasty, super, super talented guys, and I really appreciate the work that they've put out there.
Very independent, focused, and very much they do, especially Melvin, who I never saw Sweetback's Badass Song, but I did see Watermelon Man.
Right.
Which is
classic.
Oh yeah, quite the satire. But yeah, I've never, and then for Mario Van Peebles,
Mario.
Oh, damn it. Cause you know why? Cause I'm looking at the Google and I'm not thinking. So, but, and our first introduction to him, my first introduction in life, but also I think on this podcast, would be his role in Jaws: The Revenge.
Right. We haven't covered Jaws: The Revenge. But
did we not? Yes, we did. We did a whole Jaws episode. We definitely talked about.
We didn't do an episode on Jaws: The Revenge.
But we definitely, we
talked
I
about
remember because watching Jaws: The Revenge that on that go around gave me my theory that that Ellen Brody and the sharks are psychically connected,
psychically linked.
Yes,
Right.
So
Yeah.
Anyway, but. And while we're talking about the Van Peebles cinematic legacy, this is the follow-up. So this is the second film directed by Mario Van Peebles. The first film directed by Mario Van Peebles, a big hit when I was in 8th grade and going into high school. And I didn't see it in the theater, but saw it, taped it off HBO and watched it, had the soundtrack, New Jack City.
That, if I remember correctly, has a pretty awesome soundtrack.
It's got that Color Me Bad, I Want to Sex You Up. It's got Ice-T, New Jack Hustler on there.
Ice-T for sure. Yeah.
There's some Queen Latifah on there.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like in terms of that, it's New Jack music, like that hip hop.
Right.
That's that era of hip hop. The New Jack City soundtrack is,
and I really wanted to watch New Jack City in preparation for this episode, but unfortunately I couldn't track down a copy of it. But it's one where it's just like, as soon as I can watch it, I'm going to.
Worth going back to, in my opinion, and this is, I rewatched it within the last, let's say, maybe 5 years. And I remember on my original viewing, I felt that Chris Rock was Oscar worthy. And I came back to it and said, well, was I a bit naive at the time? And no, I don't think I was. Chris Rock is fantastic. New Jack City is an amazing movie. Wesley Snipes, it's like just one of his iconic performances as Nino Brown.
Totally. Yeah.
Mario Van Peebles, of course, playing he's got a posse in that as well.
Love a good posse.
With one white guy. It's Judd Nelson in New Jack City.
Interesting. Judd Nelson and Stephen Baldwin as being your token white guys.
Yeah, token white good guys. Although, the villains in New Jack City are, but there's also, what I loved about New Jack City was that, and it's the same with Posse, is that there is that social commentary mixed in with the entertainment, and the entertainment in both, on both films definitely can go in that, this is a movie meant to be enjoyed, even though they both tackle serious topics. New Jack City, perhaps even more so, with the crack epidemic.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I learned a lot from watching Posse, and there were also things that I had heard before, but was reminded of in Posse, such as the grandfather clause. And I'm pretty sure that's where the term being grandfathered in comes from. Yeah. Which is one of those not secretly, but accident, or it's a racist term that has kind of just become common.
It's kind of flipped because they got grandfathered out. They're grandfathered out.
They're grandfathered out.
I guess they're grandfathered into the exclusion. Vote. Right. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, look, we're talking about this movie takes place in 1898. Mm-hmm. We know even in 2025, we haven't exactly, mastered race relations, though. It's so what's really cool about this movie is it's, first of all, its relevance, it's kind of acknowledgement and responsibility, and that's kind of a Van Peebles thing, is we're going to make entertainment, but it has to be socially responsible, and people need to, it's basically white people are going to watch, not just white people, sorry, that is the wrong thing to say there, but just
broad audiences.
People are going to watch this who do not know this history.
Right.
And this is something that I maybe it's the time, maybe it's the place, maybe it's everything, but I think about the history that we learned growing up in our, New Jersey public education, and how limited it is in its scope and how
Yeah.
misrepresentative it is, and in some cases false. But it was just kind of like, this is what you learned. And now it's, like we've got Howard Zinn's A People's History of the United States, and a lot of research that's come to the surface. It's always been out there, but it's been brought to the surface, and saying like, no, this is what actually happened. And this is not, it's not to say like, oh, we need to feel like we're responsible for that, but you need to know because it all ties together.
Right.
It's all one story.
Yeah. In addition to the, I guess, this history of, people who are black in the Wild West, that's one element to it. But there are also certain other things that were kind of like new to me that weren't just created for the movie, such as like, and I know you'll get into a synopsis pretty soon, but Billy Zane's character, Colonel Graham, he was leading this group of soldiers who were, they were convicts. They were sentenced to serving in the military. And that was his group. So it's like he has this group of, wayward people who aren't signed up to do this. They're sentenced to do this. And so that was a real thing.
Well, yeah. And it kind of connects, not to go on a, history lesson here. It connects to the, the clause in the 13th Amendment that says that no one it's not legal to hold anyone as a slave unless they are a convicted criminal,
right?
Which kind of, and the timing works out really interestingly, where you see a lot of new crimes being defined around that time that were kind of based on the behaviors of people who were freed from enslavement. And then it's kind of like, you referenced South Park before, and in particular the South Park movie, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut, when Isaac Hayes' character, they talk about, they're going to war and they're going to send the black soldiers in first. And it's very much the same here, where it's, well, here we've got warring to be done, and it's, hey, why not just send these people that we don't really consider human anyway, but they can still carry a gun and they can still shoot the enemy. And
totally.
And they don't care. No one's worrying about who's going to tell, a Bobo's mom that he was, killed in action to one of the men in the posse there. So
Tiny Lister.
Yeah. Zeus.
Always great to see Tiny Lister.
Absolutely.
What a great look.
Yeah, great look. And really, he knew how to do what he does. Is he still with us?
We lost him in 2020.
Yeah. So he knew how to do what he could do really well.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, but yeah, no, there's a lot of history here. There's a lot of, I don't think they actually do they use the term Buffalo Soldiers in the film?
I don't recall. I don't explicitly remember hearing it spoken, but
that's a term that, a lot of people probably learn it from the Bob Marley song, but
that's how I did.
A lot of people, probably don't know exactly who are Buffalo Soldiers, why they were called Buffalo Soldiers, or in fact that the 10th Cavalry Regiment, which is the regiment that
Colonel Graham
that Colonel Graham is in charge of, was that was the first group of Buffalo Soldiers.
Yeah. Well, then why don't you give a little synopsis and then we'll really get into the weeds on this.
Here we go. During the Spanish-American War, a platoon of soldiers from the U.S. Army's 10th Cavalry Regiment is sent behind enemy lines to intercept a shipment of gold. When the soldiers, all black with the exception of one, realize that their sadistically racist commanding officer Colonel Graham intends to betray them, they escape with the gold to the North American frontier. The men, Angel, Abobo, Wheezy, and Little J, along with New Orleans gambler Father Time, follow their platoon leader, the enigmatic Jesse Lee, as he journeys towards Freemanville, an all-black town founded by Jesse's father, who was ruthlessly murdered years earlier by white supremacists as the town's construction was just beginning. What Jesse's men soon learn is that he is on a mission not of escape but of justice, planning to hunt down and kill every last one of the men responsible for his father's death. Pursued by Colonel Graham and awaited by the sinister Sheriff Bates, Jesse and the remaining members of his posse prepare to take their vengeances or die trying. As Jesse Lee, we've got Mario Van Peebles. As Angel, we've got Tone Loc. As Abobo, we have the aforementioned Tiny Lister. As Little J, Stephen Baldwin. Big Daddy Kane playing Father Time. We've got Colonel as Colonel Graham, wonderful Billy Zane. Stephen Baldwin as Little J. We got Richard Jordan, who's great, playing Sheriff Bates. And then we've got some in some supporting roles, some really big names. The movie starts off as a flashback being recounted by Woody Strode, who fans of the John Ford Westerns would recognize. He was part of John Ford's kind of company. He was a John Ford devotee. Was Woody Strode. You've got Nipsey Russell, who pops up there, who makes an appearance. Is the two reporters interviewing, are interviewing Woody Strode. You've got the filmmakers Reginald and Warrington Hudlin, who made Menace to Society, which came out, I think, that same year. I mean, made other films as well, but that was what put them on the map. We've got Reginald Vell Johnson, Sergeant Al Powell.
Yes, playing the town barber.
Yeah,
and he chose to play it gay. He very clearly chose to play it gay,
which is interesting.
And which was just like, it's never brought up, but like his affectations, he calls people like bitch and stuff like that. And it's a choice.
It's a choice. It's 1993. All right, we got Pam Grier, who is just like, that's one of the things about the movie.
For like 2 lines.
It was that kind of, I didn't remember how much she was in it, but since the last time I saw this movie, I've become a much bigger fan of Pam Grier's. So it was.
What's also funny is that if you search for it on certain things, like the image that pops up is Pam Grier in it, and it's like she's hardly in this thing.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's like how you look up the movie Quadrophenia and whose image pops up? Sting.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we've got a trend going here. All right. Yeah. As you already mentioned, Isaac Hayes is in this.
You're missing one major one.
Well, I'm not done. I'm going.
I know, but I feel like you're searching around a little bit, but there's like one character who's not like a bit role, but Blair Underwood.
No, I'm coming back to Blair Underwood.
Okay.
I'm coming back there. He's because I wanted to throw just like a couple of these other names in there, like Paul Bartel, like indie film legend who kind of always plays every character the same way. But
totally,
he's great in there. Yeah. Aaron Neville. You hear him and instantly it's Aaron Neville. Charles Lane, who's not as big much as well known in terms of his name, but like you'd recognize him. And he plays
a core posse member.
He's one of
Wheezy.
He's like, he'd be like third build. Of course, Melvin Van Peebles, and then, Blair Underwood, L.A. Law, who I think at this point, like really L.A. Law and, maybe, Crush Groove. He was known. Yeah. Oh, he's from Tacoma, Washington.
Is he really?
I did not-
I really like him.
Did not
I like
know.
him a lot.
He's, he really works for this type of role because of how like kind of smooth he can be. And it's really nice when the smoothness is played as like villainously.
Right. And you know what? I feel like this is just a preemptive.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
And just to say that, like, so many of these characters, it's like, you think at certain points are okay and then you realize are bad. I mean, him being, basically the main one. But I feel like the bad guys in this are so good at being bad guys. And we also have like so many different plots going on here. And it may be like too many. We have what are you thinking? Because we've got the whole Colonel Graham thing and like recovering the gold
Right.
that they took from him after they got away. We have the whole thing about Blair Underwood's character buying back and this was like a real thing that I learned about from Posse, but buying the land back from black landowners and so that they can participate in this actual program, which was I think it was called like the Back to Africa program.
Yep.
But they were going back to Africa.
Marcus Garvey.
Yeah, and there's the whole, the sheriff of, is it Cutterstown?
Yep.
Who's great bad guy.
Richard Jordan.
Richard Jordan, oh my God, such a good bad guy.
Fantastic, yeah.
And then of course you have the revenge storyline. Freemanville, faced this very traumatic incident by the KKK where, they burned down the school that they were building and killed Jesse's father. And of course he is on a revenge mission in addition to all of the other things that they're doing, against these men that were in the KKK. And of course they showed their faces and he remembers them all very vividly in these flashbacks that we have. And then there is also the storyline of the little boy who is recovered and tells the story, and another spoiler alert, but it's who cares, kind of a spoiler,
right?
But it's like this little boy is the person in the book ending the film telling the story, which I understand that like he comes into it maybe halfway through, maybe even more than halfway through, but he's like recounting the tale of all of these people. And there's also flashbacks for one character. And I guess he's getting all this information from stories written in that little silver book that he has.
Yeah.
So to have flashbacks, like, trauma dream sequences for one character being told through another character who shows up at different moments, I don't know, that part didn't necessarily work for me.
So that's where I think the Van Peebles messaging comes in. It's kind of like there's the agenda, like, all right, we got to tell a good story. We're going to make a Western. We're going to feature Black people. We are going to, and then we're going to also educate people. And we are also going, so like, it's kind of, all right, what for audiences who never knew about this, learn about it. For like, so and then for Black audiences specifically, like, understand, appreciate, know your history, know your culture, and understand the importance of preservation and preserving those stories, like the stories of marginalized people in general, because they are not the first ones to be told, as evidenced by the existence and messaging of this film. And even in the title track, Posse, Shoot 'Em Up, there's some audio. There's an exchange at the beginning between what seems to be like a father and a son, and the kids watching, you hear the audio of like an old Western on TV, and the father's like, this isn't what the Wild West was like. There's no Black people.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like this movie was made at just the right time. I mean, there was definitely a huge resurgence of Westerns at that time, and also like different twists on Westerns, and with movies like Young Guns, which of course is taking actual people and doing a different spin on it. But like, it was really hip to do a Western. I mean, then of course there's Tombstone, Wyatt Earp, Unforgiven.
Unforgiven won the Oscar like
right
around the time this was released. Because this was, I want to say, like March 93. Is that? Am I totally off with that?
Let's see. Release date, May 14th, 93.
Okay, so May 14th, 93. So we're within like 2 months of Unforgiven winning the Oscar for Best Picture. You've got, and like Young Guns, and actually Young Guns 2, it feels like has a little bit more of its fingerprints on this, especially with the storytelling device. Although in Young Guns 2, it's meant to be like that it's Billy the Kid telling the story. You check out the Young Guns episode for more on that.
God, Emilio Estevez, so not right for that role, but whatever.
But also perfect. So
yeah, I guess
perfect. Not right for that role, but perfect for that movie. Yes. So
yeah,
you've got I think that's where and right, that book ending is where it really, if you start asking questions and you start thinking like, well, wait a second, how does this kid who came into the story halfway through know all of this? We're supposed to make some pretty big leaps. But it's also like that message is there to show like, hey, it's 1993. There are very few people around who were alive to witness this history. It's important to document their stories.
Yeah, and I also feel like this movie is in some ways a response to Glory, which is just like, oh, it's the story, it's a story about, the people who were black who fought in the Civil War, but it's really a story about Matthew Broderick and the white perspective as told by in a director who was not black. So I mean, I feel like this is Mario Van Peebles saying like, oh, like I see what's going on, but I kind of want to do it the right way.
Also important. So first of all, mentioning Glory, and I haven't seen Glory in a long time. And Glory really made, gave Denzel Washington his first Oscar and really helped establish Morgan Freeman and Denzel Washington as stars. So haven't seen it in a long time, though. It's interesting. Glory comes out in 1989, right alongside Driving Miss Daisy.
Yeah, no, it's definitely a lot of that. Bringing your white audience in with these stories and these other actors and characters who are recognizable from things, and then
it's telling these story. It's telling these stories with the expectation that you have to have a sympathetic white character that your white audience members can look at and say, that's who I am in this equation. I'm not.
And our only sympathetic white character in this is Stephen Baldwin.
Right, who basically
who's like a dirtbag.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit about any he's like the other the madam who says, the only color we're concerned with here is green, but Stephen and Stephen Baldwin is in there, I think, for a similar reason, but more to just show that like some white people were just assholes. They weren't necessarily racist.
Assholes.
They were just kind of assholes. Like they kind of treated everyone the same. So but he's in there. Also, another movie that this comes out like it that looms over this movie, but also elevates this movie is Malcolm X.
Totally.
Yeah. Right. And I mean, Spike Lee in general as becoming a mainstream filmmaker coming from very, independent. I mean, yeah, he studied at NYU, but his films, She's Gotta Have It, especially having a very, independent spirit, and Spike Lee, very much a filmmaker who told stories the way that he saw them and felt others should see them, still does this. I can't wait to see his new one, by the way.
Totally.
It seems like it's a Spike Lee Denzel kind of, not like an Inside Man re-up, but like they're looking to do a story in that vein.
Yeah, and I'm saying this based on nothing, just conjecture, but there's something about it that feels to me like perhaps Mario Van Peebles was encouraged or like driven by somebody like Spike Lee, who is kind of like the new voice that's coming into like Black independent cinema. And I'm wondering if there was some sort of like, I am the rightful heir to be doing this. And so and of course, stylistically completely different.
Right.
But, comes in with New Jack City and then now a completely different, I'm trying to think about like Spike Lee's work and if anything goes into like historical.
If Spike Lee did any history, you've got, Miracle at St. Anna is probably not the first Spike Lee movie to pop into people's minds, but you've got, so like in terms of Spike Lee's historical takes
or like period pieces,
like
I guess
a period piece directed by Spike Lee, like Crooklyn, which takes place in the 70s, 60s.
Right. So it's hard.
Great movie.
And to that effect, Summer of Sam.
Great movie. Yeah. Summer of Sam.
Which we talked about in the last episode briefly.
Miracle at St. Anna would probably be, and I'm just thinking off the top of my head here of the Spike Lee filmography.
Yeah.
By the way,
Malcolm X, I guess, would have been.
Yeah.
But I'm thinking like
Black Klansman.
Black Klansman, right? Mm-hmm.
Parts of the Five Bloods.
But still, we're in the 20th. We're in the 20th century.
Yeah, no. Spike Lee has not made a movie set in the antebellum South.
Right.
He is not. Spike Lee has not made a Western, as to the best of my recollection.
Yeah, looking through his filmography, there's so many that I, either haven't seen or haven't given enough, attention to.
What's on your? We'll take a brief detour here because Spike Lee's awesome.
Sorry, Mario. We're going to talk about Spike Lee for
just for a moment, and then we're going to bring it back in.
So She's Gotta Have It, School Days, Do the Right Thing, Mo Better Blues, Jungle Fever, Malcolm X, Crooklyn. Man, look at what a great
the ones you haven't seen. Or?
No. I'm just going through the full list. Yeah. I think that of all of those, I've seen all of those. I saw Crooklyn. I saw Clockers. Girl 6 I've seen.
I've not
Get
seen
on the
Girl
Bus.
6.
I don't think I've seen.
I have not seen Get on the Bus. I want to see Get on the Bus.
Yeah, the Million Man March movie. He Got Game I've seen. Summer of Sam I've seen. Bamboozled I've seen. 25th Hour I've seen. She Hate Me, I don't remember if I've seen. Anthony Mackie.
I've not seen She Hate Me. I also have...
Inside Man is fantastic. Yes. Well, you're saying Miracle at Santa Ana, yes, like you were saying, that is most likely the most,
Red Hook Summer
period piece.
I think is kind of like a Crooklyn-y. I haven't
seen Red Hook Summer. I did not see his Old Boy remake.
I didn't see Chirac.
I have not seen The Sweet Blood of Jesus.
I started to watch a Chirac.
Mm-hmm. I have seen that one. I liked that one. Black Klansman's great. The Five Bloods, and then Highest to Lowest.
Yeah, I'm excited for that one.
Which I'm excited about.
But yeah.
A Kurosawa adaptation.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Always the film student is Spike Lee. And the professor and the professor, but so
and the professor, absolutely. I am looking forward.
But
to that one.
And what's cool is like Spike does his thing, and where Mario Van Peebles, where Mario Van Peebles, it doesn't feel like Spike. I'm sure that Melvin Van Peebles influenced Spike Lee in some way, shape, or form. I'm
sure, yeah. And I don't want to say that there was any rivalry between them. That
no, it
hasn't been. But I don't know about anything like that.
No, but if you think of like the two filmmakers who are bringing black stories to the mainstream and celebrating black history, celebrating it, like actually bringing stories to light about black history. It's Spike Lee and it's Mario Van Peebles. Mario Van Peebles continues on this path. He does Panther in 95.
Right.
And he plays Malcolm X in Ali. Michael Mann's Ali.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it does feel like slightly different. Like it feels like they're related MOs as filmmakers, but.
And also just while we're talking about, I guess predominantly 90s influential black directors, John Singleton needs to be mentioned as well.
And the Hudlins.
Absolutely, yes.
John Singleton, the Hudlins, because who did did the Hudlins do Dead Presidents?
Ooh, I don't know. Let me take a look. Reginald Hudlin, filmography, director, House Party, Boomerang, wrote and produced Bebe's Kids, also featuring Tone Loc.
Oh yeah. Oh no. So
The Great White Hype, The Ladies' Man, Serving Sarah, Marshall, The Black Godfather, Safety Sydney, and Candy Cane Lane.
So, okay, I'm sorry. I made it such a faux pas earlier, and I feel like an asshole, straight up, because I said earlier that the Hudlins directed Menace to Society. That was the Hughes brothers. So, man, I'm an asshole. I spoke at it because they also did.
It's a team of brother filmmakers.
They made Dead Presidents as a starting. HU. I can make excuses, but ignorance is the reason.
The two of them, Menace to Society, Dead Presidents, American Pimp, From Hell, and The Book of Eli. That's just directing.
Yeah,
and then Alan, as a solo, did a segment for New York, I Love You, Knights of the South Bronx, Broken City, Defiant Ones, Dear Mama. And then, an untitled Snoop Dogg biopic. And then Albert Hughes did Alpha, The Good Lord Bird, and The Continental from the world of John Wick, 2 episodes of that. Anyway, coming back to Posse, and, we just mentioned Tone Loc. I want to talk for a second about the cinematic works of Tone Loc, who, burst onto the scene, of course, with Wild Thing and Funky Cold Medina. What a great duo of songs, first of all.
I'm
great
gonna
voice
make
on this
an
guy.
album and sing the whole thing like this. I'm going I love all it totally takes me back to that very specific time and place.
Absolutely. And he had a really interesting acting career as well. He had a predominant role in Ace Ventura. As we mentioned, Bebe's Kids, which I think was the first movie that I experienced him in, because I remember seeing that at a friend's birthday party. We all went to go see
Bebe's Kids. They don't die, they multiply.
They don't die, they multiply.
Robin Harris.
Fern Gully, he was a very predominant role in Fern Gully. Adventures of Fort Fairlane was his first movie. Poetic Justice, which we just mentioned. Surf Ninjas. Ace Ventura, Car 54, Where Are You? Blank Check, Heat, Spy Hard, Titan AE, Space Cowboys. Acted until 24. Oh no, it did some in 2022. Did a television voice for something called The Proud Family, Louder and Prouder.
Oh yeah,
but otherwise, 2014. Was essentially the end of the acting career.
He doesn't need to. He's got those, funk.
He's got that Funky Cold Medina money.
Yeah. That Ace Ventura money.
The Ace Ventura money, yeah, maybe more so.
Let's get a quarter or two for that a year.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. But yeah, I mean, just kind of going back to our completely stacked cast in Posse.
Lots of recording art. Big Daddy Kane.
Big Daddy Kane, who's I think is really good. I feel like the Father Time character is like,
underused.
Yeah, and I feel like had it been more thoughtfully done, like he could have been part of the initial posse where, he just had this thing where he had a cool pocket watch. And so it's just like people started calling me Father Time because I've got a cool pocket watch. It's like, it doesn't need to be like a whole thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I met this kid and he noticed I had a pocket watch, so he started calling me Father Time.
That's how nicknames are born. And I mean, the character of Wheezy, I feel like you could have combined a few of these characters to kind of make them a little bit stronger and to kind of given the movie a little bit more of a through line instead of having to take some time to just be like, okay, wait, so this character seems like they're going to be a much bigger character, and I'm thinking of Wheezy specifically, but really doesn't do all that much. More of an opportunity because he was, I think, was he part of the Colonel's crew and jumped ship?
He was the Colonel's like servant. He was his and it makes that Billy Zane, which, man, Billy Zane, underappreciated.
Not by me.
No, I know not by you, but when you watch his performance in this and you think about how, we talked about Phantom, that movie, I think like Billy Zane, I just feel like Hollywood didn't know what to do with Billy Zane. And it's like, it's unfortunate because you see him in movies and he's perfectly fine in like Tombstone, but imagine how much fun Billy Zane could have had with some of the other roles in Tombstone.
No, absolutely. I mean, he's of course fantastic in Titanic. We all love to hate Billy
Zane
character.
in villain mode. Wonderful.
Villain mode is absolutely great. He's also, I love him in the movie CQ, the Roman Coppola movie. He's so charming and plays it off really well. He's great in Zoolander as himself.
The Zoolander.
Listen to your friend Billy Zane. He's a cool dude.
Yes.
What a great line.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, Billy Zane is a cool dude.
And Billy Zane in that movie, it was so perfect. What was the other? Oh no, the moment that made me just say, damn, Billy Zane, you're wonderful. Maybe you can guess it. And it's when he makes his big reappearance when they're at the brothel in New Orleans and he's standing in the doorway with that costume on where he's friggin' the Amadeus.
Well, yeah, well, it's Mardi Gras and he doesn't need to dress up.
No,
but he does.
He does.
It's a choice.
And he's holding the mask up and then he reveals and he has an eye patch because he, he's, shot. During the escape, but it's so wonderful and he plays it up so well. But he's so evil, and when he's talking and he makes that terrible joke with Wheezy, then you just see Wheezy's so humiliated,
right?
And so I feel like that's a character that, again, it was kind of like in that list of ingredients, like, what do I need to have in this movie to represent the Black experience in the Old West?
Yeah.
It's like, well, who were these people who were born into a life of servitude and never given the idea that they could achieve something more. Which is what Wheezy recognizes. And also Wheezy is in the movie to say the name of the movie in case you forget what movie he needs to, because we're a posse. He needs to do that 20 times.
Yeah. Well, I mean, certainly Jesse's not going to say it. He barely mutters 2 words at a time.
Yeah. Nor does he wear sleeves.
Today it was last night. I was just like, oh, if I had thought about this sooner, I should have tracked down a pair of suspenders and gone shirtless with suspenders for the recording. Because man, does Mario Van Peebles like to show off that hot bod of his? And so does Melvin Van Peebles too.
2 of them, man.
Oh my God.
I definitely feel like he definitely worked on his arms and that he went back and watched New Jack City and just saw himself in all of the shirt sleeves and the trench coats and all that and said, I'm in the Old West where it's hot. Yeah. I'm showing off there's going to be guns in this movie. There's going to be guns in this movie.
Yeah, absolutely. And pecs as well.
Oh, And pecs up plenty.
And also, just talking more about Jesse, man, what a bummer of a guy to be around, unless you're out in a swimming hole with him, in which case it's the only time he smiles in the movie. The two scenes when he is like swimming in a lake or whatever.
The most hardened of men become softened children when they're at a swimming hole. Yeah,
no, splashing around with his buddies in the buff.
Oh,
he's loving it.
Yeah, and they're all naked. a Bobo when Wheezy is like just, I don't know, awed, aghast.
So, okay, I listened
Bobo in the buff.
I listened to the podcast episode about Posse from the Action Boys. John Gabris, past guest on the show, Ben Rogers and Ryan Stanger, and their observation on that was it's either really big, really small, or really weird.
Yes, I know. I got the same. My action, and you know what? Did you kind of present yourself with the same? Had you listened to that episode before you watched the movie, or
after I watched the movie?
Yeah, but I kind of thought that as well when I was watching, and definitely came to the conclusion that it's small.
Oh, I mean, the ambiguity of it really serves it in a very satisfying way, and what a fun scene in an otherwise like really grim and dreary movie that's like that lacks fun, even though you have so many fun scenes, especially in New Orleans when they're at that brothel and everything. It's just like, this should be fun, but like I'm just so bummed out about all of this.
Well, yeah, because you've got the Jesse Lee flashbacks, and
he's such, well, I mean, rightfully so, but he is a sad sack. And it isn't until he's splashing around with his buddies or after he like reconnects with Lana, the
splashes around with her
woman from his woman from his past, and
who plays the daughter of the character played by his father.
Yeah, right. Absolutely.
Although it's funny, I read that she said something about, doing the sex scene, and said that the one nice thing about him playing the part and also being the director was that there was one less man in the room.
Oh, totally. Yeah, I can't imagine there was much of in the way of intimacy coordination at the time, and especially knowing how, where Mario Van Peebles learned to shoot sex scenes, at a time when there wasn't a lot of, I guess, mimery going on. It was all, things were pretty much really happening. So
it is an artfully, the Old West did not have such nice lighting. Such artful,
most certainly
studio lighting.
No. If I remember, there were a lot of candles in that scene, which is just like, who's taking the time to light all these candles? Also, for somebody who's having all these flashbacks about like torches being thrown in his face, he's around fire a lot in this movie, and it's totally fine.
Yeah, well, it's sexy fire. When it's sexy fire.
But in addition to the sexy fire, but like there's a moment where he's having one of his like little fever dreams where he's like sleeping with his gun in his hand. Oh. And like his friends have got like a little campfire going on like 5 feet away from him. So you would think that might be a little bit triggering for him to the point where he might be like, I'm going to actually remove myself from this situation.
But he doesn't have that. But there's not that awareness. We don't have coping techniques in the Old West. He's not like...
No, but like you think that he would be afraid of the fire a little bit. To the point where he'd be like, I'm just going to move a little bit ways back there.
I wonder if it's one of those like repelled by it and drawn to it things.
Ooh,
where it's maybe. Like,
it fuels him.
It's my pain and my power.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just saying.
Absolutely.
Maybe.
We could certainly talk way more about every single aspect of this movie. There's no need to really go into like every single detail because there are so many things that happen in this, and we haven't even really touched too much on what happens when they get to Freemanville. But it's satisfying. There's great action set pieces. There's a Gatling gun. We all love that. It's kind of like the convergence of a few different plot lines all at the same time. And you just want is for Jesse to win, whatever that means. And the deaths of the Colonel, totally satisfying. The death of the sheriff, the KKK guy, I mean, slightly satisfying. It seemed like at a certain point, there's like, we got to wrap up this movie. So let's just like get a lot of people dead.
And it's one of
quickly.
those things where when you come to the end of a movie where there's more than one like good guy, it's okay, who does the main protagonist need to kill?
Yeah.
And also, may I add, we have another, coming 2 episodes after The Rock, where we have a wonderful villain impaling. We have another wonderful villain impaling here in this movie with
absolutely.
And I do. So coming back to the idea of the storylines coming together, I didn't feel as overwhelmed by all the storylines, and there are a lot of threads, but it felt like they all fueled each other and that they all served a purpose.
Yeah, I think that clearly I could have done without the whole, rescuing the little kid who ends up being the one to tell the story. Like, I would have been fine without that. I didn't really need that.
Right.
And to remove something like that, it's like pruning a tree. It's like shaving off that lets the other ones flourish.
Exactly.
And I think that like if I had to prioritize what I would, pare down, that would be the first thing to go. Because like, okay, the vengeance thing, it totally makes sense. It totally works. Everything with the Colonel is really fun because it's like there isn't just one villain, and the 2 villains are very different from each other and don't have any connection with each other whatsoever. And for there to be this kind of final climactic scene where, oh shit, it's happening, that all works for me.
Well, and you have to have, what I like about that setup is that you have the big baddie that Jesse is coming for.
Right.
That I guess that was just kind of on his to-do list. Like, I'm going to finish up the army. I don't think starting a feud with Colonel Graham was on the agenda, whereas getting his revenge on the Klan and Sheriff Bates was on the agenda. But then you have those stakes added of Colonel Graham. You also have wonderful sequences, the horses leaping out of the train car in New Orleans.
Oh, great stunts. There's an awesome stunt where it's clearly Mario Van Peebles like jumping onto a running horse.
Yeah.
I was like, damn, that's awesome. That's definitely him, and he nailed it.
You also have to have that like last moment, because Wheezy does make that like last ditch attempt to like get back on the Colonel's good side, but realizes it's not going to happen. So you need Wheezy you have that moment to make his choice. So I think so I like having that set up where you've got your sheriff and the Cuttersville Klansmen they're kind of doing their thing, and then you've got Jesse being pursued by Colonel Graham, who's out both to get the gold back, but also to avenge. So he's out for some vengeance for his eye.
Yeah, totally.
And for also like for being humiliated.
Yeah, absolutely. His pride.
However, it's, I think what's more important is, like you said, like, this was a real, historical thing where you'd put the name, or the property in the name of one person.
Right.
And
Blair Underwood,
the scheme between Carver and Bates was the love triangle, because Carver is now with Lana.
Yeah, we haven't talked about that part.
Right. Yeah, because if there's maybe one other storyline that feels unnecessary, it's this love triangle, though it fuels the tension
yeah.
between Carver and Jesse, who I guess had been friends.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, it's like, yeah, well, Jesse was gone. So, like, what are you supposed to do? Just kind of sit around and wait. And Lana was like, not cool with Jesse initially when he came back. Like, she was just like, you know what? You disappeared.
He may have been wearing a shirt at that point, though.
He was wearing a shirt at that point. And then, of course, then she's just like, you know what? Screw it. YOLO. Let's do this. And and Carver was like fully aware of it. He's just like, yeah, I know that you were with each other last night.
Right.
Whatever.
Yeah. No, and with Carver, it's I think what's more important is, like you said, like, this was a real, historical thing where you'd put the name, or the property in the name of one person, and the scheme between Carver and Bates was, I think that's a more, again, I don't know if it's necessary.
Bates being the sheriff.
Yes. Sheriff Bates of Cutterstown. Yeah.
There's so many characters and different parts that I feel like it just requires, the reminder of who people are.
And Sheriff Bates, so Carver's the sheriff of Freemanville, and Bates is the sheriff of Cutterstown, and he has kind of a Harris Yulin look to him.
Harris Yulin, he does have a Harris Yulin look to him. I forget it's Richard Jordan, who I believe passed away. It must have been shortly. Yeah, it was August 30th, 93 is when he passed away. 56 years old.
Yeah.
Lost him young. He's got this great look to him. You're right. There is something Harris Yulin-y about him. If we decide to do night moves at any point, we have fantastic shirtless Harris Yulin in that one, looking like a snack, a hairy little snack. Nice. He's fantastic. Richard Jordan, also, who we remember from The Secret of My Success.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we did that not very many episodes ago. Logan's Run, Old Boy. Have you ever seen Old Boyfriends?
No, I haven't.
With Talia Shire?
No.
Oh, it's so good.
Oh, okay.
Check that one
out. All right.
Hunt for Red October, Gettysburg.
I wasn't aware Talia Shire existed outside of the Coppola family, Rocky franchise, and Godfather franchise.
Old Boyfriends, when is it from? 79, Joan Tewksbury.
Okay.
Written by Paul Schrader and Leonard Schrader. Oh. It's really great.
Lenny got in on
it's
that
got
one.
Keith Carradine. John Belushi is in it. In not a comedic role.
Oh.
Buck Henry.
Okay, I think I read about it in that context of like John Belushi.
It's really good.
Old Boyfriends, huh? All right. I don't know. Anyway, getting back to Posse. So, yeah, a lot of characters, but also a lot of, I think a lot of fun. And yeah, if you eliminate a couple of the threads, like you said, it gives the other storylines a little more room to breathe.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, and I do feel like there were certain things that like were in there just to provide more of that historical context and that like those real elements from history, such as the land ownership situation that they had in Freemanville. Like, I feel like there were so many parts where this movie was trying to educate its audience, and it just creates clutter because of the nature of the movie being this like, action-y Old West movie. So it's cramming a lot in there, and it's like, if this were a series, then perhaps that would be the way to handle it. You look like you've had an epiphany.
Well, no, I look like I just looked up Old Boyfriends here on the Just Watch app, And not only do I see that the plot seems to kind of parallel High Fidelity in a few,
revisiting old romances.
Yeah, but also Garrett Graham is in it of Phantom of the Paradise.
Yeah, Phantom of the Paradise. Yeah,
and of Stort Saves his family.
We love him in that. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway.
Okay. So there we are.
I just kind of teased, doing it as a series, and yes, that's what my suggestion would be, is to have a Western series. We are, of course, in another one of those like Old West renaissances right now. Kevin Costner has sort of cornered the market on the stories that he wants to tell. So why not give others the opportunity? And I believe that Mario Van Peebles just did another, what is it called? The Outlaw Posse.
Mario Van Peebles has done a bunch of these.
2024 called Outlaw Posse, with his son Mandela Van Peebles. And Edward James Olmos is in it. And this is a 2024 American Western film. I'm looking for the plot. And I'm not really seeing
1908,
one.
Chief returns from years of hiding in Mexico to claim stolen reparations gold hidden in the hills of Montana, but is chased by Angel, whose rationale to the gold leaves a trail of dead bodies.
Yeah, and we also have Whoopi Goldberg, Cedric the Entertainer, John Carroll Lynch,
Edward James
William Map author, Edward James Olmos,
Emmett Walsh. Wow, that must have been one of his last.
It says, and Emmett Walsh in his final film role before his death on March 19th, 2024.
Yeah. Well,
and it was released March 1st, 2024.
So what's interesting is it definitely seems to have some parallels to Posse, but is not connected to it.
Right.
There's another movie out there that is sometimes touted as the sequel to Posse, but it's not. It's called Los Locos.
Oh, Los Locos. No, that's the Short Circuit 2 sequel.
The spin-off, the short that's what yeah. If we can get anything good from Short Circuit 2, it would be a Los Locos spin-off.
Yeah. And also, just to kind of go on, to kind of bring things full circle, the Outlaw Posse tagline is, "When the laws are unjust, the just are outlaws." So, yeah, it's another virtuous Wild West Mario Van Peebles movie. But yeah, anyway, I think that if you're going to do this story, do it as a series, perhaps even just a limited series, because to have, any kind of satisfying ending that combines the vengeance plot line and also, meeting the person who has been chasing him the whole time, give those things room to breathe a little bit. And and take your time with this kind of thing, because there was a lot of good stuff in this movie that I feel like is fun, engaging, but then also educational. And I appreciate it for those elements, but it's hard to keep track of everything when there is so much to keep track of.
Right. Yeah, I'm totally with you on that. I also feel that, and I don't know much about what went into the production of Posse, but it does feel like you'd be able to maybe even more authentically tell the stories of the Black West in a series format, because I was thinking of the same thing, and I was like, well, what if you did, first of all, you could just expand this into a series. There's, like you said, there's enough there to work with and to expand it out and let it breathe. I also want to put it out there and say, because just in case anyone out there is going to put a comment or send us an email and say it, no, I don't think Ryan Coogler should remake Posse. I feel like Ryan, and I'm excited because I will finally get a chance to watch Sinners soon. I have yet to see it, but it is like far and away the movie that I have wanted to see this year more than anything else. And I already know from what he's done with other like properties, and I'm excited to see this because it feels like this is not someone who we're just going to say, oh, they should it's kind of like with Jordan Peele. No, I don't want to I let them tell their own stories. Like if Ryan Coogler wants to remake Posse, I give him a blank check, let him go with it. But no, I think that also a series where you're not staking as much on having, a prestige filmmaker name to attach to like a Hollywood release is first of all, you have the opportunity, and even if you did it as an anthology series where it's different stories, different true stories of Black people in the Old West, having giving the opportunities to other filmmakers who are looking for a chance to establish their styles and who are the people inspired by the Cooglers, the Peels, the Van Peebles, the Lees, etc. And far be it from me to, narrow it down to a name or two. If I was going to go with any like established voice, I think I'd be interested to see what Donald Glover does in the Western genre as a creator. With a great set of arms as well. So. But
totally.
Of course there are so many other names and so many other people in creators, women, like, we don't really get a good representation of women here.
No, we don't. No. Very two-dimensional.
No, they're either
one-dimensional, maybe.
Because I mean, other than Lana, the rest of the women,
and Pam Grier's like half of a line.
Well, right, and does Pam Grier like work at the bordello?
Was there a bordello in Freemanville? Yeah, I'm only really just remembering the New Orleans situation, which was of course very not very women forward.
It kind of feels like the women in this movie, other than Lana, are sex workers.
Right. Yeah.
So like a series that has more room to expand on these stories, because surely there were Black women in the West who were not just the lovers of cowboys.
Yeah. And also they don't give enough room to let the stories of the Native Americans breathe.
Oh, right.
Because there are all of those stories. There's the story. I mean, Lana is, part indigenous, so there's that. But then, in addition to that, there's the woman who was trespassing in Cutterstown, and so she's hanged.
Right.
But it's kind of like she just didn't know that it wasn't her land anymore.
Right. Yeah. Those stories are marginalized.
Right.
And
so to give those stories a little bit more room to be told would only benefit.
I'm pretty sure it was a little bit more complex than the indigenous people didn't have problems with Black people and wanted to kill all the white people.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Totally.
Kind of how it's presented here.
Exactly. Yeah.
Room for growth.
So anyway, if you listeners, viewers on YouTube or Spotify, if you all have ideas on how you would want to revisit Posse these days, email us ruinedchildhoodspod@gmail.com. Definitely check out ruinedchildhoodspod.com for additional fun stuff and merch and whatever. And
suit up your posse.
Please, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Send us your dream cast for a modern day Posse too. And then also please rate and review the show on all the podcast stuff. That's how people will get to know about it. And it surely makes us happy. We post stuff on TikTok and Instagram all the time. So follow us on those channels.
And if not for us, for these movies, some of which, and you know, warts and all, some of these movies have really flown under the radar and deserve to be seen. And, you know, yeah, we're not necessarily watching Posse for the most historically accurate telling of things, but hey, like, if you like Westerns.
Sure. And Westerns aren't something that I'm typically drawn to, but this one I thought was a more engaging movie than a lot of others.
It's and not to just say that like his movies have to be connected, but it's a New Jack Western.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, just even in the name Posse, that was the term being used at the time for, you know, groups of friends in the Black community.
Right.
I mean, sure enough, it spread, and, you know, white people started using the term too, and it sounds awful. But that was absolutely but that was the time. That was it, man. 93. You get your Posse.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I also could have done without the whole like gold bullet thing. I thought that was just like a little bit much that I didn't need.
No. Nobody needs gold bullets, but it adds a little.
No. Jesse has his like bandolier, and I felt like it would have served the like, you know, the cool shots of putting like the bullets in the bandolier better if it were like, you know, the people who he was seeking vengeance on, you know, and you know, kind of marking, like having a slot for them, like a bullet for each one of them.
Engrave their
but
faces
instead it's just like,
on them.
Yeah, I mean, it's just, you know, white hoods. One of the lines that I liked a lot is when we meet. This might be when we meet Melvin Van Peebles' character. He's doing target practice, and there are these like sticks with white triangles with eyes on it on the top, Klansmen, and he's like, "Aren't those targets a little big?" And he's like, "I'm aiming for the nuts," or whatever he says. And I thought that was pretty great.
Yeah. No. Oh yeah. That was good. I love Melvin Van Peebles.
Yeah, and
Rest in power.
He's so much fun in this, and I hope he had fun doing this.
I'm sure he did. Hey, you know, watching his boy do his thing.
Yeah, I know.
Hopefully not when they film the sex scene, because that would be weird.
Yeah. Well, anyway, Dan, what are we doing for our next movie beginning with the letter O?
Oh boy, Starfighters, get excited. We're going to talk about one of the best movies of the 1990s, perhaps the 20th century, perhaps ever. No, this is a great movie that gets...
Is that how you really feel about this?
I think it's a great movie that gets better on every viewing. Maybe not one of the great... Maybe not like the top 10 of all time. But like when you boil it down, when you kind of like, you know, check it against the rubric, it gets all fours. I think at least. So we're talking about 1998's Out of Sight, directed by Steven Soderbergh, based on the novel by Elmore Leonard, starring George Clooney, Jennifer Lopez, Ving Rhames, Don Cheadle, Steve Zahn, Catherine Keener, Luis Guzman, and Albert Brooks. Lots of other familiar faces that pop up here and there. But definitely not my first time seeing it.
You know, I think I've only seen it once before, and it was a long time ago, and I'm really excited to revisit
Okay,
it.
so we'll see. Yeah, after you give it another viewing, where you stand on its status. But I do feel like it gets better. And you know, I even remember the screenwriter Scott Frank.
Okay.
That's off the top of the head there, just because it's such a great such a great script, such a great movie.
Yeah.
So excited to talk about it and see kind of where we can go with that.
Right on. Well, Dan, as you are hopping onto an already running horse, flawlessly doing your own stunts, I wish you a good journey.
Yes, I do. Good journey.